I had an apartment in Yale College. They have colleges like Oxford has them. And I had a house in the country. I was in the house in the country, painting polyurethane on the floors on that very rainy day, and all the windows were shut. I knew better, but I wasn't thinking. So I developed a monster headache, got very angry, shouted at my wife, got in the car and drove to New Haven, 20 miles, walked up the stairs, let myself into my apartment, and collapsed unconscious on the floor. And I was there for 3 days and nights. And when I finally recovered enough to crawl to a phone, I went to the medical center, and lo and behold, they said, well, you had a stroke there. Look, we can show you the image. It looks like you have been shot with a very small caliber bullet. But that's what polyurethane does, right back there. While I was lying there unconscious, I had a vision. I was visited by a silver-haired older man. He came in a green light. He got behind me and he lifted me up by my arms, and he flew me to the top of a mountain and took me into a temple. There in the temple, he showed me everything I had ever done, thought, or said. Now, in those days, I had no idea what the Akashic record was, but I soon realized that that's what he showed me. And he didn't have a lot to say. He said, your life has been a selfish rag. And he said it in such a way that it didn't hurt. At the same time, he filled me with a love so complete and unselfish, I didn't have words for it. Since then, I know that people call it unconditional love, but I didn't know that phrase in the 1970s. So when I came back from that experience and began to recover from my stroke, all I really wanted in the world was to be with him again. So I began to pray and to meditate. I cannot tell you who that was for sure. In time, I came to think of him as my inner man, what I really am, and including all that I have ever been and what I am becoming. I'm not going to try to nail that down any further than that. But he stayed with me. He came frequently in my meditations. He helped me sort through the problem that had led to the fight with my wife. One thing led rather quickly to another. And when I came back to consciousness, was on my feet again, I jumped into my car and drove from New Haven, Connecticut to Virginia Beach, Virginia. And there I got a psychic reading from a man named Paul Solomon. I was facilitated in this by a chiropractor at the ARE, who found me in the parking lot one morning at 5 a.m. and asked me what I was doing there. And I told him. So in this reading, Paul Solomon said, this baby hasn't got the facilities for assimilation anymore. They've been ruined. Begin by feeding him cow's milk half and half with lime water, which is simply a calcium solution. And I began to do that, and he gained 5 ounces in the first week. One thing led to another, and in a few months, I invited Paul Solomon up to Yale, where he addressed all the students in the medical school and the nursing school in an auditorium they have there called Fitkin Amphitheater. And I introduced him. At the moment that occurred, I was the public relations director at Yale New Haven Hospital. When I walked up to that lectern, I said, okay, here goes my job. But it didn't work out that way. He impressed them all, and they heard what he had to say. And what he had to say was, everybody in this audience can do what I do, what Paul Solomon, did. You all can get answers. You all can be in touch with your Creator. And I train people to do that. So I followed him back to Virginia Beach a few months later. I became his student, and then I went on the road teaching his methods. And what are those methods? Meditation and visualization and prayer. Nothing very exotic now in the year 2024, but in 1974, I might as well have been recommending Chinese language meditation. People caught on to it. it changed my life. And as I did that work, and ever since, I have been able to be in the presence of that inner man whenever I go to meditation. And I do that pretty much daily. I have continued to do those meditations, and now I call them readings. That's not a very good word. I do meditations for people, mostly parents, who want help with their special needs children. That's my work, and I love to do it. I do them for grown-ups too, who have other kinds of problems, and sometimes I'm able to help them. Often it doesn't work out. I can't explain it further than that. It's a complex process, as honestly healing always is. And a lot of people do think it's weird. So after, 10 years of doing these things, I have persuaded my family and my wife that I'm not weird, and they've looked at what I do, and they've accepted it. That's a big relief, honestly, because I'm a man like any other man. I need my family, I need my home, I need to be welcome when I come home. I don't need for my 3 daughters to look at me and say, "That's my dad, he's weird." So they don't do that anymore. What is that like? It's a meditation. It's the same kind of meditation that I taught people to do all over North America and Europe. It does involve prayer, and it does involve imagery. That's a better word than visualization, which sounds so technical, as if you have to do it just right. No, it's not different from reviewing the route you're going to drive to get home from downtown. You run through some pictures in your mind, and then you're able to drive the route. That's the kind of visualization, the kind of imagery that we use. So in that imagery, I go first to a meadow, and then up the same mountain that my inner man took me, into the same temple, and there I open a book. And that is the Akashic record of the person I am reading for. And then I draw on what talents I may have to so express what I see that they can accept it and go to work with it. Well, that part is my responsibility. And if I were better at it, I wouldn't have one person only in 4 or 5. I'd be batting better than 250 at this point, but I'm not. When people hear about their own deepest attitudes, their own least conscious habits, the first impulse is to say, "That's not me. I couldn't possibly be that way." But we all have that part of us. It's called the shadow in Jungian language. It's the part of us that everybody who knows this knows very well is there, but we don't see when we look in the mirror. That's what we get out of that Akashic record. We get, in short, what needs to change. Which of our habits, which of our attitudes is blocking the state of wholeness and health that is ours by right. I experienced it as dreamlike, and I certainly had a life review. And I didn't know that word at the time. And as with most people who have a near-death experience, I came back believing that it was real, even though it had all the attributes of a dream. It wasn't more real in a cinematic sense. But the love I encountered from that inner teacher was the realest thing I had ever encountered. So I'm saying to you that the feelings involved were totally real, and they've remained real. If I had been able to run a movie camera in my head, would it have looked different from other dreams? I don't think so. But the way I experienced it was different. And I mean it for all of your near-death experiences and all those who have a loved one who's had one, and for all those who tune into this podcast for any reason. You don't have to have a near-death experience to draw close to the Creator. Use your words. Call out. And I won't even say meditate. Get quiet. Say, I want to meet you face to face. I want to feel your love in my being. And then get quiet. You will get an answer. It may not come in the next 2 minutes. It will come. And you will recognize it. So you don't have to have that stroke or that heart attack or that car accident to meet the Creator and see the other side, if that's what you really want to do. Honestly, the other side is not hugely different from the best that this earth has to offer. That's my experience.